All right, well, it is 7:08 and we can get underway because we do have a quorum now. So good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's meeting of the Oakland Mills Community Association Village Board. We're going to start, as always, with two administrative items. The first being approval of the minutes from the August 8th, 2023 board meeting. Before I even ask for a motion, Warren gives me one. Is there a second? And I got a tie with Rebecca and Char. So I'm going to give Char the second since you got here first. All right, any discussion of those minutes? All in favor of approving? 1, 2, 3, 4, 0, 0. Therefore, no one opposes, no one abstains, so I don't even have to ask for that. All right, next up would be approval of the agenda for tonight's meeting. I saw Rebecca's hand first. I saw Char's hand second. Any discussion? All right, all in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, who motion and who seconded?
Rebecca
I was really scratching my head.
Rebecca and Char were the motions on the agenda. Warren and Char were the motions on the minute.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Next up, we have, well, the clipboard's over there, but I know who's here. We have resident remarks. Any resident wishing to make remarks to the board can do so now by either signing up or raising your hand if you're in the Zoom session. I'll call on you in the order that you signed up or raised your hand, and you will get 3 minutes to speak to the board. And I'm going to load my timer now. And since I don't know
Celia.
which of you, okay, Celia signed up. I knew it was going to be Celia or Catherine. I just didn't know who's first on the list. All right, I'm going to start the timer as soon as you start speaking.
Okay, so, well, good evening. Thanks for the opportunity to be here and talk with you and meet everyone. I'm Celia Balser. I'm married to Mike. I live in Oakland Mills on Camelback Lane. We've been there 13 years. Our house is in a strategically tricky area on Camelback. It's on the hill and it's near the stop sign, which intersects with Stevens Forest Road in Santiago. So cars cannot see our driveway when they start down the hill. So if they're going fast, they can't see us backing out. I've had a problem with the stop sign since my car was totaled in 2020, and I was okay, but the car was toast, and it was a new car, and it hurt very much. Yeah, someone ran the stop sign and it was totaled.
Was this as you were pulling out of your driveway?
No, I was at the stop sign. I was 3/4 of the way through the intersection. Someone came through the stop sign and bashed in. She never saw it. Yeah, she never saw it. And that was the beginning of the pandemic. So for a while, during the pandemic, traffic was very calm. There was nothing on the road, basically. And, then after the pandemic eased and people started driving again, they're back to work. My husband and I noticed that the traffic ferocity had increased quite a lot. Drivers were more aggressive, the traffic was heavier. And since 2022, my husband and I and my daughter had a lot of trouble on our hill trying to get in and out of our driveway safely. The stop signs being run frequently. And it's difficult. It's difficult to be safe. I mean, you can check your mirrors, but they're going so fast that you can't see them come around the bend or over the crest of the hill. So we're not able to safely exit our driveway without risking collision. We hear racing cars all day long and all night long on Stevens Forest Road, Camelback, Kilimanjaro, 175. It's like being in the middle of a NASCAR race. It's constant. It never stops. I mean, it's at 2 in the morning. It's at noon. It's at 7 in the morning. I mean, there's no school time. Yeah, school times. So there's a lot of disregard for our stop signs. There is no regard for school zone, work zone, or speed limits. So I feel like we're living on borrowed time here in this part of Oakland Mills. My friend and I, Catherine and I, have noticed it's a high number of performance cars on the streets with very loud glass packs and road rage behavior, aggressive driving. So we decided to try to do something about it. We talked to the police. They were not particularly helpful. on a couple of occasions, we went to the community resource center, a lot of this is, we put some work into this. So then we decided to start asking neighbors, what do you think? And for 2 weeks, we've been knocking on doors and talking to people and meeting a lot of lovely people who live in Oakland Mills and who are very upset about the very same things that we are upset about. Traffic problems, speeding, disregarding school zones, aggressive driving, all that sort of thing, loud mufflers. And so, but there also doesn't seem to be a consequence for the behavior because it just keeps going and going and going, and we rarely see a police car or any kind of enforcement. So that's why I'm here. I want us to pull together as a community and help our kids stay safe, help our seniors stay safe, help our families have a better place to live, and put this driving behavior behind us. I think we are headed for perhaps a disaster, especially since school is opening in a few days and Stevens Forest Road is very congested. People are going way too fast. And I just am upset about it. I think our residents deserve better. And that's why I'm here. So thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you.
Well,
Catherine, do you want to add to it? Or okay.
I'm Catherine. I've been resident in my Bullring Lane for since 1980, 44 years, same house. And but I wanted to, since you've all been through this a lot, I wanted to tell you a story about hope and perseverance. Okay, I'm Dutch and German, and I'm like gum on the shoe when I realize something, children's lives are at stake. And so about 8 years ago, we had some people on Bullring Lane who had pit bulls who were loose all the time. They were biting children. They tore a shirt. And then they got into drugs, and they were doing drug drops and wheelies on our street. Okay, literally drug drops. So I tried to get a couple of us typed, and I went to Florida, came back, and I said, you have to have something in writing. You need to find an attorney. So eventually we got something written. We trooped up to the county courthouse in Ellicott City, and it was hysterical because her little girl was Halloween. She had this princess dress on. The other one had Superman. We're going through the security and we find an attorney. And she says the greatest thing in the world. She says, well, you know, Oakland Mills just got a grant and has a full-time attorney to help the residents. So she gave me her name. And she went to work for us and helped us a great deal, really. I mean, she went to court for us several times. She was accosted by these people who are very scary and very dangerous. And the reason why I say I just don't give up, because we had to go the pit bull route first. So we went to dog court, and if you went to dog court, it's quite an interesting thing. And I don't recommend it, but in order to get these pit bulls who were loose all the time, and these were little bitty kids next door to me, you had to catch them. So one day I was determined, so I had some Chinese food left in my refrigerator, so I grabbed it because they were out, and so I'm luring them in to Dwayne's garage, and it all happened pretty fast, and I got the door open, and I got them in there, and I ran out of food. It was dark, and I went, oh, they're about to kill me or bite me or whatever. And so I found myself, anyway, I got myself out, fell out the back door. And I think they did pick them up that day because, you know, but I'm not sure. But so that's when we found this attorney, and it was wonderful. And we had it in the newspaper. They refused to leave. Karen had to cite them again. The sheriff came. And one day we see this army with the T-bolt, you know, where they crashed the door down. Yep, that happened on Bullring Lane. Yep. And this one officer, this is another funny story. He comes, he goes, could I just get into your house just for have a glass of water? He goes, I have asthma. And in this house, there were 26 cats. It stunk, you know. So anyway, and we never had a problem after that, but you know, Oakland Mills, that was just a wonderful thing, and she went to bat for us and probably risked her life, because these people were. That's it. But I don't give up, and I know you guys, just one person, just talk to one person. One little match lights a candle.
Mhm.
Thanks.
Thank you. So Brigida and I have talked about this, and I know Brigida met with both of you. And first of all, that I think I can speak for the village board when I say I know we share your concerns, because we're on record multiple times about issues with Stevens Forest Road, really the whole length of the road. But I live on the other side of Camelback, so I'm teaching my daughter how to drive, and I always tell her, don't assume at that stop sign. Just wait, don't, and until you see that start, car stop, don't assume anything. And actually on my end of Camelback Lane, because we have the straightaway down the hill, that's where they really take off. So a couple of things. First of all, for speeding on Camelback, there is the county speed bump program. Now that is resident initiated, and by that I mean the village board doesn't start that process if you were to want to try to get speed humps on Camelback Lane, because the village board plays the role of collecting and certifying all the votes, because you need a supermajority of neighbors affected, which would basically be people living on Camelback Lane is living on the roads off of Camelback Lane. I think you need 67% in favor of speed humps. And so residents actually have to organize that, collect all the signatures, and then the role the village board plays is actually validating that and sending it on to the county, which is why we can't start the process, because we validate the process. And if I recall, I have to look this up. If I recall, it's 67% of all the residences. So a non-vote is the same as a no vote. You need to get 67% yes of all the residences, not just the people who choose to sign the petition. So it's a high threshold, but it's been done. It's been done on Farewell. It's been done on Thunder Hill Road. So that's something to consider as you're going around talking to the neighbors. And as the community association, we do provide basically all the information you need to get that done if it's something you're interested in doing. We just can't be the ones starting it and doing it, because we have to validate it. As far as the issues on Stevens Forest Road and the stop sign, I think the example you just gave in the Perseverance is a good one. And we just had an education committee meeting. I had another one. The village board was on record for years and years and years and years saying the two schools up there need to be redone. And they kept getting delayed until we finally got the community organized, and they wrote literally hundreds of letters and spent 2 hours testifying in a Board of Education meeting. And lo and behold, I was going to report this in my board chair report tonight, but I was just asked by the principal of the middle school to sit on the committee for planning the rebuild of the middle school. The middle school is about to get rebuilt. The high school's on track to get renovated starting in 2026. My point in all that is we can collect the issues. We can try to get out in front, send the letters, talk to the county. I think it's what you're doing is very helpful, and I'm not trying to pass this off on you, because I live there too. I live off of Camelback too. So, I'm probably the one most closely affected of everyone who happens to be sitting here, just because of where I live relative to where these problems are happening. What we really need, and I know Brigida is working on this with you, is we really need more residents to start, contacting the same officials we're contacting and saying, please listen to the village board, please listen to us, please, fund the streetscape and other improvements, please fund the study of Stevens Forest Road, because it's, a 50-year-old road, planned, for a world of 50 years ago, not a world of today. And we need improvement. So I really do think we need more of that community effort. And I know that you and Brigida have already spoken about even hosting, something here at the other barn where we would lay out all the material and just get people to come in and start, signing letters and sending emails and really speaking up. I think the other thing that'll need to happen, assuming that when the county budget cycle starts again, and usually the first hearing is around December. I know that's a little far off, but when the county budget cycle starts again, if history is any indicator, we will be on the record once again about needing improvements and studies of Stevens Forest Road and specific parts of Stevens Forest Road, as well as other infrastructure. And, we usually deliver that testimony to the county executive. But it would help if after we delivered that testimony, maybe a few dozen other people stood up and said, yes, 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 do something about that. Because, fortunately, we can get up and say we represent the 10,000 residents of Oakland Mills. Unfortunately, when we say that, the people hearing that don't know whether that's true, or, we're just a few people with nothing better to do, so we join a village board and give a lot of testimony, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But we're with you on this. I mean, we know this is a problem. We have a long history, going back before COVID, of saying this needs to be done, this needs to be done, this needs to be done. One thing I think could really help a lot at that four-way stop sign, even if they don't change that from being a four-way stop sign, would be if they just did the planned streetscape here on Stevens Forest Road, because you have a road that's too wide. And even the police will tell you, people will drive the speed they feel appropriate, not the speed that's on the sign. So the wider the road, the faster they drive. So people come along this stretch of Stevens Forest Road that's extra wide pretty fast. And that streetscape would narrow it down, because it would add, I believe it would add bike lanes and parking.
Similar to Oakland Mills, what they did in Oakland Mills.
Similar to what they did at Whiteacre.
Oh,
Think about Whiteacre from Stevens Forest to Basket Ring. It really narrowed it down.
If you narrow the road,
Yeah.
it slows down traffic.
Yes.
If you widen the road, it speeds up traffic. It's just the way it works.
So has that helped? And is there any statistics on whether that
On
scale this?
Whiteacre,
Yeah.
there's no statistics on that, I don't think, but you can see that.
Yeah.
That's pretty much an axiom of it.
It does change the whole atmosphere of the.
Yes.
It's a lot prettier, too.
I don't have the statistics, but traffic engineers whose profession this is, have said on multiple occasions,
Right.
if you make the driving lanes feel narrower,
Right.
people will slow down. And I've observed it myself on Oakland Mills Road. Some people
Sure.
still do some crazy things, but it generally,
Oakland Mills has slowed down.
it has slowed down.
That
Yeah.
has been.
yeah. My husband has been totaled by two teenagers, two cars, totally totaled. And then within this year, he's been rear-ended, and one was right at that corner of Oakland Mills, where his car is to, rear-ended, at the stop sign of Stevens Forest and, Broken Land and Stevens Forest. Kid ran into him. Jim was totally stopped, wanted to go left. He didn't have any license, and it just bashed into him. That was it. And this has happened 4 times this year with my husband, which is now he's not replacing his car.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, 4 times. And
I'm not riding with him.
the police officer, if I could just say a couple more things, I've been in touch with the police. I did get the sergeant's name, and I found out that he now is, he said if we could get the residents to, the minute they see speeding, go online, I have the link.
Mhm.
And he said, there's no more calling in, we can't keep up with it, but he said the sergeant himself and 1 other people will read all these emails every day. Well, I don't know, but, and they also got at least 2 or 3 traffic division people, cops. So my question is, where are they? Yes, it's 4 different, south, north, east, west, but they don't come in the southern, we are in the southern district. We have not seen head nor hair. So that's the other thing, I think if we get enough people
Mhm.
emailing, and maybe we'll see, and we tried this 2 years ago,
Maybe,
know.
do you think we could get that link and post it maybe to our Facebook page or something, just to remind residents, hey,
Yeah.
here's a link so you can report speeding, so we're all kind of.
That's a good idea. Everyone's seen it.
Yeah.
I mean, even people.
And not necessarily
They're more apt
have to
to do the email than to call. So we did, and this was officer, I got his name and everything. No, it was Keeney or something, but he's the one said, I'm not in traffic, But these two are in traffic enforcement, and I'm telling you right now, my sergeant will read these. So,
That'd be great. That's how it worked it out, I think, with our, that's one way, direct way.
I think, oh, sorry.
I know that, Jonathan and I, we went out with a bunch of us and watched at that four-way stop. And what was it, maybe 1 in 10 actually stopped.
I mean, like a complete legal stop, yeah.
Right, I mean,
Yeah.
it was striking, and it was only when we were all standing there with vests and looking at people that they would actually stop. Besides that, if we were off to the side, they just would shoot right by. And some people would even know we're standing there, would
Wow.
go right in front of us. So, yeah, it's a real problem, and I think we just need to make noise, and I think Oakland Mills is really good at that.
Mhm.
We did it with the schools. I think we can do it with this. I mean, we have the traffic circle in Stevens Forest. We have all the problems in front of the elementary school. We have problems with it being too wide, all the way down to the village center. And we have the four-way stop, which is being disregarded. And I think we really need some changes. And
Yeah.
you have to make a stink. And
Bike lanes are disappearing, in Stevens Forest, there'll be a bike lane for a block.
Yeah, I know.
New bike lane.
yes,
Yeah, that's because they built bike lanes with paint on Stevens Forest. The road was not altered to accommodate
Yeah.
those. So where it gets too narrow, the bike lane just becomes a share lane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
right.
And that's
Sure.
dangerous, because it's
Mhm.
bike.
Mhm.
And for motorists too, I mean, they don't expect to have a bike right in front of them, yes, so they-
So Celia, have you sent this to the county council?
I'm thinking I might
We should do that.
clean it up a little bit, send it to. Calvin's
Whatever you
Bar.
want, yeah, and send it to Calvin Wall as well, yeah, and send it to, Chris
Opal.
Jagarso,
Yes.
yeah,
Can
from,
you spell that? Oops.
oh, man, you're asking a lot there.
If you go to his
Jagar,
website.
Better to go to the county
Jagar.
website.
PU.
Yeah, go to the traffic.
Yeah.
He's highways.
Highways, okay.
Yeah, highways. Yeah.
Can't even spell it.
There should be a single
Find it.
email address for the county council, like you shouldn't have to put all that, but it should be,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Send all that.
Yeah.
And that would be a great start.
It's council mail.
Council mail, something like that. Somebody sent it to me recently and I was like, oh, yeah. I sent it to council mail, but I also CC them individually.
I just get really nervous because, it's school opening and then they're changing the hours and the drop points and everything. It's making me very upset. Because I taught for 33 years in the public school. And I know what these people go through, the staff members, the families.
Sure.
And watching these cars zipping down Stevens Forest, and there's no reason to think they're gonna be any different, behaving differently just because they're school.
They want things.
I'm very scared. that
So you're,
it's gonna get hurt.
unfortunately, some of that behavior is the people dropping off at the schools as well.
And it is too. That's
Um,
just people-
So the two of you are completely just blowing up my board chair report, because I already said about the middle school rebuild. So another thing I was gonna report is
Still wanna hear.
we do, I do have a draft email ready to go to the community. I'm just waiting for the two schools to release their specific drop-off plans. But basically,
Good.
the email is informing the community of the new start times, because, I'm impressed that because not everyone who, doesn't have kids in the schools are even aware that these schools are starting at different times and that the two biggest ones are starting at the same time.
Yeah, I'll bet.
And basically, telling the community to expect more traffic, more buses, more cars, more pedestrians, more bikers at the same time, on all the roads, paths, sidewalks, everything. Basically around, the schools, Kilimanjaro, Village Center, this whole area, and basically saying, be patient, right? The schools didn't choose, our schools didn't choose to open at the same time. This is what they were told they have to do. The people who need to get their kids to the schools, and the kids trying to get to the schools, they have to be there, they don't have a choice in this. So everyone else, please be patient. But the other thing we have is we have points of contact if people are seeing things that are concerning them. So We're going to share the email address for the school system's transportation office as well as their phone number. We're going to share the email address for the Board of Education, since this is ultimately a Board of Education policy that has them starting at the same time. And we're sharing the Howard County Police non-emergency number. But the other thing we can put into that is that link to do an online report. Yeah.
What about police? Are there gonna be police there when school opens?
So when the village board wrote into the school system about what we were primarily asking them to do was that they could stagger the start times by 10 minutes on the campus. So we were asking them start the high school at 8, start the middle school at 8:10, so that you don't have everyone converging at once. They didn't do that. The other thing we asked, but we didn't really receive a reply, was work with the police and have more of a presence to direct traffic, put the school resource officer at the high school out on the road. I don't know. I don't know what their plans are. I do know that the two principals at those schools are doing their best to come up with plans that will, in an effort to alleviate everyone converging on Kilimanjaro Road. So that's good for the folks who live along Kilimanjaro Road or need to get, through Kilimanjaro Road at the same time of the morning. It does kind of, potentially spread issues to other parts of the village, like Blandair Park, Santiago Road, the Interfaith Center. But, they're doing the best they can with their surroundings, because there is only one vehicular entrance to Oakland Mills Middle School and Oakland Mills High School. So they're basically trying to get vehicles not to use those entrances, to go elsewhere and let their kids off and have them walk. Now, does anyone dropping their kids off have to follow any of this? The only thing the schools can do is keep you from turning onto their property. If someone decides they want to pull up on the shoulder of Kilimanjaro Road and let their student off, well, that's a public roadway. The schools can't stop them from doing that. The police potentially could if it's a no stopping or standing zone, which it actually isn't. So, some of this is going to be, we're going to have to see how all this works out. And it wouldn't surprise me if they have to adjust their plans and reinforce their communications for the first several weeks of this at the very least. But we think it's going to be a bit messy, so we share the concerns, and that's why we're trying to get something out to the community saying, hey, this is about to happen. Please be aware. Please be as patient as you can.
Yeah.
We don't need other people getting upset and adding to it, right? So be as patient as you can. But again, if you see something, here are the people you can say something to.
I think that's good. It's great. How many of you are on the board were aware that we really need another crossing guard around Kilimanjaro, not one?
Camelback and Santiago.
So that's 2 weeks. Yeah, Camelback and Santiago. This is
Where they're running.
So I don't know if I should just go to the police for that. At the top of my hill with a stop sign, there's no crossing guard.
So the police assigned the crossing guards.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not the school system. The police assigned the crossing guards. Last year, we were able to get a crossing guard added to the other side of Stevens Forest Road at that island and crosswalk at the pool. There's of course the crossing guard at Kilimanjaro. And the other thing to keep in mind is crossing guards only serve the elementary school, so they don't serve the middle school or the high school.
Right.
There shouldn't be as many kids coming across the Camelback Santiago intersection as there were before, because after the redistricting, all the kids who live down here who used to go to Stevens Forest don't anymore,
Where they go?
but there's still some. The kids who live in the Verona back here, and I believe at the Columbia Point now go to Thunder Hill.
Right. Oh, all right.
Which is,
There's still a lot of kids on the street.
It's bizarre, but they get a bus, so hopefully that takes a few more cars off the road.
Because some of the parents pull over on the other side of Stevens Forest, and just when they're gonna pick their kids up and just wave them across the road.
Yes,
Yes.
we've tried very hard to discourage that. Yes.
we've
And
talked to
the
the
school,
PTA.
the school has tried to discourage
Good,
that.
good.
The school has put out numerous reminders in its newsletters that what everyone should really be doing is using their safe and secure drop off and pickup loop, but they can't. They can't compel anything off of their grounds, right? That's a public road, so all they can do is remind people that it's dangerous and they shouldn't do it. But if you choose to pull up on Stevens Forest Road,
Right.
Didn't the PTA, the guy from the PTA that went with us, didn't he say that the police were going to spend a week trying to make sure people didn't
Yes,
do that?
trying to talk to people and tell them
Right.
this isn't a good thing to do, yeah,
Yeah, like the first week of school.
right,
So
right,
maybe that'll
yeah,
happen.
so maybe that'll help.
Thank
Well,
you so much.
Thank you both for speaking out.
Yeah, Catherine and Celia, thanks for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks for your work on
It's
television.
really good information.
Well, you gave us some ideas too, so that's good. Thank you for your work.
Thank you.
And yet, she persevered.
Yes.
Go Catherine.
Yeah.
My
So-
grandmother is German and you were first visiting English.
I am like, you should hear me phone bang. I'm like, go on your shoe. I can book anybody.
I'm German and Dutch too.
Yeah, yeah. Skank and Steinfeld, wow. And then I married a Schatz, but I went up instead of Stonefield, I went up to my treasure. My Schatz. So,
Well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're on the new business. CA fiscal 25 budget, OMCA requests. Do we have those? Do we have
I
last
didn't
year's?
send them all out.
Okay.
Because you said that, well, you said this you didn't think was the guidance that you guys would really be using, which is the survey that CA had sent out. So I have them, but I didn't send them to everybody. And then that I had sent everybody what our requests were from last.
Oh,
year.
okay, okay, it's not in the,
It's not in the packet.
Okay.
so.
all right, I need to go to that.
Celia really printed that out on nice paper.
That is very nice paper.
I told you that yesterday when we met. You really have nice paper.
It's not the state. it's cheap
No,
stuff, that's
it's
for sure.
Right?
We said our husband is not paper.
It's just like photograph quality.
All right, so for CA budget, my feeling on that survey was that's nice for, individual residents to fill out. It's honestly, to me, feels like a bit of mom and apple pie, do you like this?
Right.
How much? Do you like that? How much? Do you like that? How much? I think as a village board, we're probably a bit more tuned in to, CA's finances and how they're intertwined with ours, where we should just do our, regular testimony type thing when it comes to the CA budget. So, really, I wanted to have the preliminary discussion about what, what we think, we should say our priorities are, when it comes to, the CA budget. Obviously, one big thing that is getting done, that we no longer have to worry with is the restroom upstairs. That's a capital expenditure, but I know there are other things that we like to see get done, like, ensuring that whatever, for example, comes out of the top lot pilot, continues to get funded. Maybe a better solution so that our Talbot Springs pool doesn't get closed down every summer, things like that. So, that I really wanted to talk in terms of what we're seeing the needs are from CA versus what this survey is trying to kind of guide us toward.
Did you guys get any complaints from residents about the Talbot Springs pool? Did anybody reach out to you to complain?
So I can tell you that yesterday, the preschool, the nursery school that has their program over at Talbot Springs Neighborhood Center. They came in to sign their lease and they had scheduled their children to have pool time basically for this the whole
Right.
duration. And I was unaware of it until I was talking to them yesterday and they said that, they had to submit for reimbursement, but in fact, they did have it scheduled and so their, children didn't have access to it. I mean, they were frustrated and they said it happened to them last year as well. And so I did say that I would bring it to, their attention and that it does affect people when you close the pool. And so they had it scheduled and they were unable to.
Right, I mean, that's, the whole thing is just very frustrating. So one of the things I've been asking the board, my fellow board members at the CA level is, we really need to understand what we're doing to hire and retain lifeguards so that our pools remain accessible. So yeah, so if the board can also, if you can share feedback when we're going through the budgeting process on the frustration, because I know that at least in Dasher Green, there were several angry letters that Andy got.
What about over at Hawthorne? Because I was surprised, because in Oakland Mills, Talbot Springs is kind of the least used pool.
Yeah,
But my friend lives next to Hawthorne, which is always packed. We never go over there anymore because it is always packed. And that one closed early.
Yeah.
And so I was like, wait a second.
how did they make the choice?
Yeah.
How were the choices made?
Why that?
Exactly.
Obviously, it was, high use.
Well, in Dasher Green, I live over in Elm Brown, and I know my kids, we were always at Dasher.
Right.
And I was excited because we just discovered it. We just moved there a couple of years ago, and I took my kids for the first time this summer, and then they closed it like a couple of weeks later, and we could just walk there. So I was kind of like, that's great. And at the same time, I think that the pools were closed over here. Hopewell was broken that day, and Dasher Green. So we're talking like, that's a large circle of pools that. And
Yes.
Dasher Green is right in the
Yeah.
middle. Yeah. Of a whole neighborhood. There's so many kids that can use it and can just walk over there.
So Jonathan, I think that is probably high
Yes.
on our priority list
Yeah.
is do what you need to do.
Staffing, and it sounds like operability too, because then your other selections of pools are not always available. Okay.
Well, and I have to believe that if this trend continues, I know Marty was here saying that memberships actually recovered and are even up a bit, but I feel like eventually it's gonna hurt,
Yeah.
right? If you agree to pay for a full year's membership, but you're basically a pool user, and you no longer have confidence that your pool is gonna stay open through the summer, how long are you gonna continue to renew your membership?
No, that's really important. That's
I-
very
I
important.
certainly wouldn't have a membership if I couldn't walk to, the pool, that my pool were not there.
Right.
Yeah. And, we're all speaking as adults, but like, I have kids who can walk to the pool on their own. Well, they're not gonna walk to Thunder Hill alone,
Yeah.
It's your
Stevens
bike.
Bar stayed open, but
Rebecca's working
yeah.
on bike safety.
true, yeah. It's more a matter of trusting the younger one to find her way to Thunder Hill.
Okay.
So Marty did say that that COVID had disrupted the queue of kids learning the ropes. So there was a year that was missed where they didn't. So he has a year where some people that are managers were brand new lifeguards here before, or some, and he's hoping that that'll improve now that it's, they all are having more training, because we missed a year. So that's his optimistic view on it.
Missed a year plus, even though they would have started, they weren't.
Yeah.
Everybody wasn't.
And but he is seeing it. It's better. He thinks it's gonna be better next year.
Well, I think also the problem wasn't just, the missing of a year, is that the pools were fully staffed until August. And then suddenly lifeguards started disappearing left and right, and that to me gets into, what are we doing to retain lifeguards? Do we need to have, I know this is going back for forever, but like, I knew in March that I was gonna be a lifeguard, right? We had our interviews, we had all our water tests, all that stuff happened in March. So you knew at the end of May you had a job, but maybe we need to have several hiring cycles instead of, and that's stuff that I'll ask Dan and company to look at, is for how we're staffing these pools. What's our recruiting process, what's our recruiting pool, all that kind of stuff.
End of year bonus, complete the summer, get an
Yeah.
extra $500.
Yeah, a retention bonus or longevity bonus, whatever you want to call it.
I
Yeah.
think they did offer some retention bonuses, but I don't think everybody stuck around. I think, and kids are different today than when I was a lifeguard. I'm not saying I'm not trying to say that they don't work as hard. I just think that their mentality is more, they're focused on school, they're focused on some other things and time with family. So that needs, in our hiring strategy, I think CA needs to take those things into consideration, but I will look to Dan and the CA staff to say, here's what we did, here's what we think we can tweak. I would like to see some analysis of what happened this year and what they're gonna do to keep the pools open and accessible next year.
And whatever the culture is, money still drives decisions, right? So maybe there was a retention bonus, but maybe it needed to be more, because maybe they're not going to stick it out for an extra $50.
Mhm.
But the more,
Yeah,
that'll change the decision. So,
Well, yeah, but if you play soccer or football, you play a
You don't have
sport,
a
and, and they say, oh, you gotta be here at, August 15th.
yeah, for 2 days,
You
you're not.
gotta go in there, you don't get your scholarship or whatever, so
Yeah.
$50 or even $200 isn't gonna help.
Well, that's why I think that maybe there should be a second hiring cycle, like, as the pool opens to see, who, because I've heard from several people, it's anecdotal that, I have a kid sitting on the couch who wanted to be a lifeguard and they weren't hiring. So I would like to understand it better.
That's a good point.
Well, I agree. I think, I don't know what the recruitment program is.
Right.
But for example, at Talbot Springs, I've been on the village board long enough where we always talk about how Talbot Springs is so low in attendance, and very often what we'll hear is, well, the immediate community around Talbot Springs, different culture, their language barrier, stuff like that. Oh, well, what are you doing to recruit Spanish-speaking lifeguards?
Ding,
And then there's
Jonathan
just
for the win.
silence. So,
that is gonna be one of my
Okay, so
questions.
how are we gonna get through the language barrier if we're not trying? Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to see us hire some Spanish speaking lifeguards, and someone, was it you, Rebecca, someone mentioned to me, maybe it was someone I was talking to this weekend, is that Talbot Springs pool is not ADA compliant.
No.
And
No,
so
it's
you have to
not.
walk down all those stairs, and this is funny, so I was saying this to my parents the other day, who, they were swim team parents when I was little. And my dad, who's in his 80s, remembered, he was like, oh yeah, well, you gotta walk down all those cement steps to get to the pool. So that's the other thing is,
Sure. It's a tough one.
that pool needs to be ADA compliant. We need to have lifeguards who speak English and Spanish, because we have a large Spanish speaking population. And so, yeah, I would like to know, where, what's our pool of recruits, that kind of stuff, to try to see what we can do going forward, because,
So-
yeah,
So there is another thing you might think about, and that's Stevens Forest Pool. The guy who runs it is Bob, and he's a retiree,
right,
Mhm.
and there's probably some of those guys available. Guess what? They're not gonna go to college.
Right.
They're not gonna have to leave for college in August.
yeah.
Football team.
Yeah.
No, but that's true. I mean, there used to be teachers were managing the pools when I was
Exactly.
younger. Phelps Pool was managed by a teacher. Dasher Green Pool was managed by a teacher. So yeah,
Yeah.
it makes sense, the pool of lifeguards when I was younger was from the swim team, right? Summer swim team, winter
Right.
swim team, you kind of became a lifeguard. So we shall see, but this is a high priority for me, and I'm glad to hear it's a high priority from the village board.
Yeah.
And you should know that this is the other thing that is kind of like on my mind is only 25% of residents in Columbia are members of anything. And I really think we need to figure out why, like, is it, a lot of times I hear, especially from seniors, it's not affordable. So how do we make our facilities and our amenities, how do we make it more affordable? So.
What were our other budget things for CA in past years? Upstairs, the pools, I know you did a bike.
They're right beside you, Jonathan.
Oh, I was gonna say, for the life of me, I can't find Regina's email. Yeah, so.
I kept trying to talk to give you cover.
So the restroom, of course, we've always had our concern about the, what's done with the, over 20% cash reserves. So I think we would still want to say, well, let's ensure those get reinvested versus kind of pocketed by CA to do what they want with it.
Yeah.
So I think we would do that. I mentioned the tot lot, so I think we want to keep that there. Appropriate.
The play areas.
Yeah, play
They're no
areas,
longer
yeah,
areas,
yeah,
play
play areas. Appropriate and competitive funding for lifeguards, we talked about, second sheet of ice at the ice rink, so that's one that
We always
will
have
happen. Replacement trees, quite honestly, I've seen the county replace a number of trees, I haven't necessarily seen as many trees get replaced on open space as they come down, so we may want to think about keeping that one. I don't know, Catherine, if you can get any information like about, could you get any numbers for us on number of trees that have been taken down in open space versus number replaced so that we could,
Well, I know the one taken down near me hasn't been replaced.
yeah, I mean,
did
I
that.
can just see anecdotally, but
Yep.
numbers might help us with that.
I know they took Well, this is the county, we took out 3 trees on my street, there's 3 trees, they gave me 2.
Oh, when they
Two or three.
repaved, anybody who
No.
got their tree taken down during repaving could get a replacement from the county.
No, just over the years.
Oh,
I used to
okay.
have 3 trees, now I have 2. So
But those were county, right?
it's county, it's county.
They knocked all those, makes a straight shot back now.
What are you talking about, across the street from you where they're doing the street restoration?
Yeah.
Sure, catch me in the parking lot later and we will talk about that.
That's not open space then, right? That's Howard County.
It's not
It's
open
Howard
space, that's a Howard County project.
Oh, okay.
But-
That's
Ask me.
not groups, yeah.
No, it's,
No.
they had to partner with CA a little bit because some of it's like, in order to access that, they're on some open space, but
Okay,
that is a county project, but we can talk about that.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a mess.
The Orchard Green Path,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
I thought that was approved, that's approved
There's
and
been
it's on
a
a list.
priority letter to go, that went to the state.
Mhm.
It said the county is in favor of that. But that's where it is right now. But we need to keep that. And we need the CA, they need to do the connecting path, but they're not gonna do that until the
Right,
state does their thing, which is the crosswalk. And the county does the path along 108.
so we'll keep the placeholder for it,
Yes,
even though, yeah,
Mhm.
all right.
please.
And then the last one we had was, and I thought this was going to start happening, but I haven't seen any yet. Adding EV charging stations at CA facilities like the ice rink and the neighborhood centers / pools.
Mhm. Yes, that's great.
But I recall, like, I thought late last year CA was coming up with a plan for that, or am I misremembering?
I
Karen, do you know-
also, well, I don't know if BAFC did, but I'm gonna ask, but the other thing I would say is I thought that BGE also had some kind of program that you could get into, like. To get to get the charging stations put up, like if you lived in a townhouse community or apartment complex, they had, and I didn't know if it applied to us
So
or not.
I think there is, Regina, did we talk about that? But then the question
Yes.
became, like, since we manage this and the neighborhood centers, but CA owns it. It was unclear whether we could ask as the
Right.
managers versus CA as the owner of the property, because we'd basically be asking them to put something on property we didn't own, if
Right,
OMCA
right.
asked for it.
I'm actually gonna send an email about that one, Jonathan, I'll probably copy you.
I
Okay.
think I reached out to, Josh. Bennett,
Okay,
and I had forwarded that information to him once, well, actually Jonathan and I spoke about it regarding.
yeah, because if they're taking advantage of the BGE program, I don't think you have to pay for that.
Right.
I feel
And
like he
so-
said he was gonna look into it, but
I don't.
I'll
I didn't
ask
know
a
any
question about
follow-up
that
on
one.
it, though.
I don't.
Cause I know we have one.
Right.
Yeah, right behind us here. Yeah.
Bob
Yeah, it was back in May.
And it's-
Marietta is getting an
Someone
electric
always
truck, he
says-
keeps asking me about it.
Yeah.
Somebody's always
Are they?
using it.
Yeah, well, you only got the one, right?
I've used it like twice. I'm swing by. Well, it's still busy.
So if I go off of last year's list, and then we can see if there's anything just new we want to add. So I'm crossing off the second floor restroom because that's happening. I have a check to repeat the cash reserves, just, update that to fiscal 25. Change tot lot to play area, but keep the repurposing and redesign for tot lots, except we probably want to change the language to reference the pilot and ensure that there's funding to, see that through and then implement recommendations, something like that. Appropriate and competitive funding for lifeguards, to keep the pools open and fully staffed. And then Karen, if you find out something, about recruitment or other issues that we can add to that, we'll, we can add some language to that. But since this is budget, I think, appropriate funding for lifeguards is a good general way of describing it,
Sure.
until we get specifics.
I actually think that you could put a sentence in there if you wanted to, Jonathan, about multilingual lifeguards to support our community. We have a multilingual community, so let's support that.
How about fund a multilingual recruitment
There you go. It's in your talking fund.
initiative?
I like that.
Especially the Talbot Spring School, I think, there's been some issues there with the kids just don't understand and the lifeguards don't speak the language, so
Yeah.
it leads to poor outcomes.
Yeah,
And
I
then
mean-
the families get frustrated and like you said, they don't want to come anymore, and we want people to use that stuff.
Yep. State of the art ice arena with second sheet of ice. As far as I'm concerned, that ice rink only gets older every year, so.
Well, and, no, I don't know if you saw it yesterday, but, it's being, the Columbia Patch put out an article that there's 4 different ice rinks in, and that rink was one of them where they're trying to start a women's hockey program, so they're having like a open house. And whatever the team, I would remember, Howard Huskies are hosting. So, and that's one of the ice rinks that they're coming to.
Except there's no available time on one sheet of ice. They're gonna have to cut into basically public skate time or,
Yeah,
raise the prices to a point that others who are using it now decide not to, because it's fully booked.
yeah, just as a point of
Yeah.
reference that it's growing and.
Okay.
Stay with the-
That is
Yeah, exactly.
Replacement trees, I have a note that Karen will try to get some numbers of the trees taken down versus
Mhm.
replanted.
Yep.
The Orchard Green Path, and then possibly EV charging stations. If CA has to pay, it would be part of the budget. If not,
I'll do a
Then
preemptive strike
we-
on that
yeah.
one, keep it on your list,
if
but
we can get BGE to fund it, then we take it out of CA budget, and
Right,
it's another, another item we bring up with CA within a different context outside of the budget.
It was, Jeremy Scharfenberg that Josh was
okay,
going.
there
to
you
reach
go.
out.
Okay, Jeremy is the sustainability guy. so-
Yes. And Howard County, Maryland is applying for federal funds to purchase and install EV charging infrastructure across the county.
Okay, I'll send that to Jeremy and CC Dennis and you guys.
So this is new business. We're not making any final decisions, but does anyone else have any ideas that you'd want to add to this list right now? If not, we have time to think about it, because we're gonna bring it back, and there's always email in
The
between.
budget process will take several months,
Yeah.
but let's get our list out there.
Yeah, what about more and better bike racks?
Ooh, good one.
More better what?
Bike racks,
Oh, okay.
that single wave rack outside the teen centers, it's not,
Right.
Yeah, they should be upside down to use.
yes, specifically proper bike racks.
If you do the wave, only one bike
Right.
gets on there,
One on each side.
one on each side.
I thought you were gonna ask us to do the wave.
Of course, they're about to install.
Yeah.
Did I tell you that? They're about to install 50 wave racks throughout the elementary schools. Our friends that have disappointed them,
You can't get them to change that?
Oh, my gosh.
They already bought them?
they bought them.
Ouch.
I guess it's better than nothing.
Well,
But-
it's cheaper and easier, right? It has 2 anchor points just at
Right.
the end, but it's useless because you can't, there's
It's just
no
a
proper
waste.
way to use it.
Yeah, it's just a waste. Because everyone thinks, oh, you put them in the middle.
Anyway.
All right.
Nerdy bike people, sorry.
It's okay, I'm with you.
Gonna get you started.
Like
I don't even know what you're talking
We're all very important.
There you go.
Doesn't matter, you look like you're.
Is there a door open, or are cicadas that loud? Okay,
And it's a pretty thin wall.
yeah.
Maybe that's what we want.
It sounds like
Want
the door's
better walls.
Yeah, better walls at the other barn.
I mean, this building is old and it was originally a barn,
Yes.
so. I mean, it's got its name for a reason.
Pretty loud.
Anything else? Going once, going twice? How far behind schedule are we? Oh, yeah, we're doing great, yeah. Almost. All right. If you can't read my chicken scratch, I can translate it
Give it the
later.
best shot.
Management contract renewal, Regina.
Okay, so there's not much to talk about, but every other, when we have the village managers meeting, all the other, village managers had kind of, not all, the majority of them had reached out, and basically the current management contract expires, on April 30th, 2024. Typically, beginning in September, there's negotiations regarding that contract, so when the old one expires, the managers, et cetera, have had time to look at it, the boards, and make sure and then get to the process of signing it. Well, I would say earlier in the summer, when, Dennis Matty was at, the village managers meeting that was actually here, he indicated that they wanted to extend that contract for an additional year. So,
So it'd be a 2-year contract.
well, it's technically a 4-year
Oh,
contract,
so now
but
that
it,
would-
it expires in 2024. They
Okay.
want to make it go through 2025. Which there, are differing opinions, but, I just wanted to bring it to your attention to kind of see what your thoughts were. So we didn't have a village managers meeting in August because no one was gonna be around. So our next one is, early September. But I figured at this point, we were definitely going to have a strong conversation about it. And so I just wanted to see what your thought was. Now, one of the things I will point out specifically in the management contract that was brought to my attention was the formula that they use to give out the assessment shares to the villages. That is included in part of that process. And during COVID, they modified the formula, of course, because of funding issues. Now, and I have not fact checked this, but it was my understanding from one of the other village managers that we have never gone back to the original formula as far as what the assessment share should be for each of the villages.
So it's still using the COVID formula.
So that was my understanding.
Okay.
Like I said, I have not specifically fact checked that, but the manager who stated it, he was the one who worked on the formula in the first place. So I'm pretty confident in if he's stating that he's not just pulling that out of nowhere. So,
Does that mean you get less?
yes,
Okay.
So I would say it is a contract, and in a national emergency, I can understand why the terms of a contract might get changed unilaterally to avoid, CA going under, because it came
Right.
close.
Yep.
I would be fine with the 1-year extension if it reverts to the terms of the contract as originally signed. We weren't necessarily thrilled with the change to the assessment share, but we did fine financially under that, even if we didn't fully support it. And we were happy with some other changes, like, there were some changes to the facilities maintenance language that we were in favor of, that I would be fine extending for another year. But like I said, if they're talking about extending the contract, extend the contract, not the modified contract, because the state of emergency has been lifted. Yeah, the May 19th or something like that
Yeah.
nationally, so.
Mhm.
well, and within that, I will say that the hourly rate of various contractors through CA who work on, like repairing things in our building, it increased, which, in light of inflation, et cetera, I understand, but I feel like keep on increasing everything and nothing keeps on taking away from the overall pool, so.
But if we lock it in for another year because of the way we changed we got the maintenance cap changed before. The increases in the long run end up. I don't want to say it works in any way.
I know what you're saying,
It's
yeah.
more likely that CA covers the cost of
Right,
those
because
increases
the
because
rate
of the.
is higher,
Yeah,
yeah,
because the
I
rate
hear
is
what you're
higher,
saying.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yes, it'll cost us more for those repairs under the threshold than maybe it did before, but for the big ones, what we did with this contract helps protect us a bit
Right.
better than the old one did.
That is true.
For those who don't know, there was always a dollar cap, like if there's a facility issue and you need a repair, there was a dollar cap, and I forget what it was before.
I would have to
But-
specifically.
But basically, before, it was each instance. If it was under that cap, the village paid. If it was over CA, so our dumbwaiter kept breaking, but it kept nickeling and diming us. So let's say the cap was $1,000. Every time it broke, it would be $900. It would break multiple times a year, so we pay $900. Under the new contract, they raised the cap to, let's say, 1,200. I don't remember the exact figures, but they also made it cumulative so that if it was the same piece of equipment breaking, once we hit $1,200 in the year, then CA would take over and cover the rest of it. So it, you know, it was a little bit more on our end, but for recurring problems, it also made CA more responsible for what was happening if there was a kind of a chronic issue in the facility, which there was in the case of our dumbwaiter. And I'm sure other facilities in other villages had similar, you know, nagging problems that they kept having to get repaired over and over.
So you said something that triggered something for me. I don't know if this would go in the budget or the contract, but we had an unpleasant legal issue, which I thought CA should have covered.
So
The cost
Brigida
of
and
that.
I are gonna meet with Karen
Okay.
to discuss that, since some of that we still might not be able to
Gotcha,
discuss in open meeting.
gotcha.
Yes,
All right.
that's the thing I've been wanting to talk about. We're not
Okay.
finding time. Yeah, so
Yeah, yeah.
that is part of
That
that
is-
is part of a budget discussion. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, let me know what you got going on.
Okay.
Next,
Yeah, no, I've not forgotten that at all.
Yeah, that's-
So I don't know if, like I said, I'm guessing that because September, from what I understand, is typically when, like I said, these negotiations begin.
Right, that was-
That CA always has, Dennis comes to our meetings, so, and then as well as other representatives from CA, so. I'm guessing it will be a topic of discussion, so I just wanted to get a feel of what the thought was from all of you, so I would. have an
I agree with
informed
Jonathan.
opinion.
I don't get a vote, but I agree with Jonathan.
I'd also. The other reason I would be in favor of extending a year is, even though you've been here for a while, you're new as the village manager. I'd rather have you have more experience as the manager administering that contract going into negotiations, you know, versus doing it this year, you know, based on a partial year as the manager. I know what you did before, you know, you were, you know, very well informed, but there were a lot of things that
Right,
Sandy had to handle.
right.
I think it's better for you to have more experience going into the negotiation.
Well, and frankly, I'm not the only one. A lot of the other village managers were not a part of the last negotiations, and actually. We had a discussion that we would kind of want us to have a separate meeting to talk about all of the specifics, so we would be more informed if in fact the negotiations were this year. So that's what
Okay.
that's what I had to say about that.
All right, I guess we're on to the board chair report. Well, our neighbors kind of just, you know, blew everything out of the water. So, yeah, so, you know, I kept reporting, I haven't heard back from the middle school principal, haven't heard back from the middle. So today at work, I happened to look at my phone as I was going to lunch, and there was an email saying, I need to form a small committee to start the planning for the new building. Would you be interested? So I said, yes. So now I mean, in addition to everything else that has to happen, I can bring up the hill or anything else.
Oh,
you feel
please bring
needs to
up
be
the
brought
hill.
up when it comes to planning that site. So I think the first meeting on that will be sometime in September. I talked about the start time update. The other thing I had, and I was out of town for work last week, so I've not had a chance to check it this week, but Warren, this is a public space thing. So they did some resurfacing and repainting at Thunder Hill in 175. And it used to be, if you were coming northbound from Talbot Springs across 175 into Thunder Hill, you had one northbound lane that was a dedicated left turn lane. You had the next lane, which was left turn or go straight onto Thunder Hill. And that lane continued up Thunder Hill Road. And then you had the other lane that goes straight only, but it ended.
It merged.
It merged at Thunder Hill.
Right.
When I was last there, the week before last, I noticed that they have now relined so that if you take the one lane that used to go straight through, it forces you into a left on Lightning View.
Yep.
If you take the lane that used to end, that one goes straight, but the sign still says that lane is going to end. And
No, they
I've
didn't
seen
change the sign.
a couple of instances where cars,
The signs that just,
have they changed the sign since? Okay.
no, they haven't done.
Oh, they haven't. Okay,
They've
okay.
done that. they're not done with the signs or the markings. on the
But why
road.
not,
But signs
why
are
not
just-
cover up the sign that says the lane that doesn't end is going to, it seems like they need to do something to make it safe now. Like, you know, kind of like when they're not ready to unveil a traffic light, they keep those canvas bags over them, like cover up the incorrect sign.
Were you just driving along waiting for the lane to end and nothing happened?
Well, actually, the first time I was actually following, I was doing my architecture chair duties and I was following Mike up into Thunder Hill, and I was driving behind him and a car nearly hit him because they were confused about where they needed to be.
I actually think the new markings make it a little bit safer there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, as long as the signs reflect what's happening up there. Yeah,
Agreed.
yeah. And really on the other side of Thunder Hill, they should do like they do everywhere else. They should have something indicating new traffic pattern ahead, but they have
Those
nothing.
two turn lanes, what
Yeah.
happens, people will get in the far right lane, and when they turn, they wanna make a left, and it's like, you can't cut across, you know, it's been many a times where I'm in the far left, and I make my left, and then someone's in the far right, and then they wanna merge into my lane, and like, can't
Yeah,
do that, if you wanna make a left,
that sign. could
get
be
behind me,
updated,
and
too.
we can all make our lefts together, you know? So,
Yeah.
I like it now that it's well marked out, like, this is going left, this is going straight, but yeah, once they. It just, I don't know, it just still looks incomplete to me, because even where they did the paving, it's kind of like they stopped at a weird space, it doesn't go all the way
They
down.
did repave, they didn't do repaving all, like they stopped just a little bit past Lightning View is where they stopped, I think, with the repaving.
Yeah, it's like, I
Yeah.
don't know why they stopped there, and then they didn't go all the way to like 175, you know, they redid the curve. So that went all the way down, they fixed that, because that was just gravel and dirt, so they did that, but then. When they started doing paving, I thought they were gonna go down to take it down to 175 and then stop. They brought it back, and it's like, right when you come off Lightning View, and it's like this weird line, see the new pavement and the old pavement, and then they don't do, any of like the, upkeep, you know, like in the medians and stuff, there's weeds that are, you know, tall as me, that are just, they're like.
That's the state highway at
Yeah.
175.
Yeah, but it's right
Yeah,
off
but-
175,
right.
on Thunder
It's Thunder
Hill.
Hill Road, though.
Yeah, but
They
it's
didn't finish
the
paving.
state highway administration authority extends off of state highways into the side roads a certain distance. Yeah,
It's their property. That's
Yeah.
why you always tell the state. 'cause it's
yeah, you
always
can
like
tell,
that.
yeah.
That's part of the saying, I come home from work and I'm just like, one day I'm just gonna like pull over, I'm gonna leave my weed whacker, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna put it out here with the.
One,
orange
one,
bags.
yeah,
So,
and one way you can kind of tell where like the state ends and the county starts. The county medians have grass and trees, the state's just concrete.
I think that the intersection at 175 and Thunder Hill, that whole
It's
intersection
terrible.
looks
It's-
horrible.
It's terrible. I mean, they did
Yeah.
something with you know, the monuments out there, like the Thunder Hill and the one across the town of Spring, they did them, I saw them trying to do that, and they put some, looked like
That's-
animals out there, and they tried to clean up around there, they took off the old trees that they knocked down back in December that were still there, because I called and I kept complaining, and it was like, you guys tore them down and you left them, half of them are sticking out. So they finally came, they removed a lot of that, and they kind of cleaned it up, but then they didn't do anything else. It's like, come on, guys, we were doing so great, like what happened?
It's really disconcerting because when you're going to our neighborhoods, we have really nice neighborhoods, you go down these cute little streets.
Mhm.
But our intersection makes it look
Terrible.
like we're like the steel industry like 20 years ago. Everybody here's out of work. You know, we don't have money for our highways.
That 275 is like a stroke, it's like.
Yeah.
Worst
Yeah.
kind of road.
Yeah.
So it's like halfway pulling off a highway, that's not really a highway, but kind of like a highway, so.
Yeah, but
Doesn't have that
that's
appeal.
state that extends a little bit onto Thunder Hill, because you see the same thing at Tamar and Dobbin Road.
We
and
need to get Wes
all
Moore
along,
at our
yeah.
meetings.
It's terrible. It's really bad, I mean, I wanna go out and do something myself, you know, like you're telling my husband, I was like, we're gonna go out one weekend and. Put your cones out, you know, bring your service vehicle and block it, and I said, we're gonna get the weed whackers and just cut it down, because I can't take it. I mean, it looks that bad.
So yeah, I guess you could put it as a C-click fix or tell them.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Now they could,
Oh, okay.
and then the county would then forward it to the state, and sometimes they do something about it.
Sometimes, yeah, sometimes.
That's the key.
But in terms of the lane markings and the sign, I didn't know if it's still a problem because I was away last week, but Warren, I don't know if that's one where,
I'm gonna look for it on my way home tonight.
you just want to maybe send Chris an email,
Yeah,
or
I'll
call,
send-
or I
I'll
can or
send it
something,
to
and,
me.
because it's something that's easily corrected, just take down the old sign or put up a new traffic patterns, a temporary new traffic pattern sign, something to warn people.
Got the bushes back so that you can see the traffic signs and.
Yep.
You know, where you, cause all that's overgrown, like I was driving down, and like, if someone didn't know the area. They wouldn't know that there's freeway entrance coming up here because you can't see the sign
I think it'll be
that
Chris.
says, you know.
You tell him for Chris. G-R.
Chris Etal is always a friendly ear, maybe he could point us in the right direction.
Yeah.
Because this could very well be state too, I don't know, because I don't know where,
What are the
I don't know where the
boundaries?
state ends and the county takes over, yeah.
I know that Chris Etal was very involved in that whole changing the lanes,
Mhm.
so he's probably the one to talk to about that.
Yeah, I mean, in the long run, I think it's a good change. Just
Oh, I
that
think
people
it's a
knew
good
it was
change.
there, yeah.
Warren,
Okay.
I didn't see like your specific bike lane. I mean, they
It's
marked,
not painted yet.
oh, okay.
That's how. That's
I was
why
looking
know
for it and then I
that-
saw the bike symbols on the road. I'm like, okay,
The
but
Sharrows.
yeah. Did you know that they put one of them on upside down and then they had to scrape it off? I said to my mom, what are they doing out there? She said they put it upside down.
You have one job.
Yes.
I didn't know they did that.
Right, right in front.
Yep.
All right, Karen.
Oh, so there haven't been any board meetings all of August, so we can't get into any trouble, right? But they start back up on September 14th, so I don't know when we have our next meeting. Hopefully I'll have something to update. I looked in the meeting minutes. I thought I had shared in the last meeting, but maybe I forgot. John Kuchno was hired as the Columbia Association Counsel. So I think he starts next week, or maybe it was early this week. I know I sent an email and I got an out of office message from him. So I don't know if everybody remembers John Kuchno. He ran for a county judge seat, I think a couple years ago or something. So not this last election, but it might have been the one before. So that's the big news. I think that's really all I've got. You guys are working on the budget. That would be the other thing I would talk about. And some of the priorities that I'm focusing on are the pools. Obviously, that's a huge deal for me. So all the stuff we already talked about.
Jonathan, you have quorum if I leave, right?
I have
I
what?
have to be home at 8:30. So if I
Oh.
leave, you still have quorum.
Yes,
Yes.
Yeah, because
Yes,
it'll
you're
carry
still
on.
quorum.
Oh, we're all
Yes.
set, that's right.
Okay,
yes.
then I'm taking.
Okay. Village manager report?
Well, I did, give you, a printout of most of the things that have been happening. We were supposed to have FY24 first quarter financials. But when Debbie came in last week, there was a few more things that just we needed to clean up. So they will be ready for the September 12th meeting. And I did want to let you know that I am working with CA for the movie night with the Open Mills local leadership team. I'm waiting on times, but what I was thinking of doing, I know I've been working with Bronlyn and I know she's in school, I believe, so she doesn't always get to her emails, but I was figuring I'd fill it out and then send it to her to just fill in the times and
Okay.
then I'll forward it, but we have it. It was just a formality to do the paperwork, so they have it in
Okay.
their files.
Okay.
And it's set for September 29th in the parking lot. We did have an event at the other barn that evening, so they will be using the Pizza Man restrooms, which she has secured with Pizza Man, so.
Awesome.
um,
Brigida, thank you so much for helping with that.
Yeah, sure. And the other thing is, we were supposed to have our phones tomorrow, which we have the phones, but because of a lot of fun things with Comcast, ACC Telecom, who's the phone company we're working on with, was super apologetic because apparently they should have known this in advance. However, we're getting a new router, an upgraded router with higher speed internet tomorrow, but they couldn't have 2 service tickets on file with Comcast. So we have to do this first, and then they'll come and port the phone. So I'm hoping within the next couple weeks, we'll have some new phones. And everybody will be trained on them. So I just want to give you an update on that. And the rest, obviously you can read. I did want to let you know that I am out some amount on Friday, and I'm out for a good next Thursday through the following Wednesday. Bringing children back to college and making a pit stop at Cooperstown, New York, for the baseball Hall of Fame,
fun.
which my husband has never been, and he's cannot wait. So it's our little surprise trip.
Take some
so-
pictures.
But I will, I always check emails, so if there's anything urgent, of course I will.
Yeah, when do you and Jonathan want to try to get together after you, I'll be back on the 8th, so that following week, maybe?
That's fine with me,
Okay.
sure.
Sounds good.
Cooperstown's a lot of fun.
Oh, I can't wait, but he's a
Never
huge
seen it.
baseball fan, so he is beside himself. My sons are a little upset, we're like, look, you get to take your dad first. So. So that's all I have. And if you have any questions on anything else or want any more information on some of the things that I've been working on with both Celia and Catherine that were here this evening, and then of course with Paul Berchinsky on Thunder Hill Road, please feel free to ask.
All right, bulletin board, anything, Amy?
Well, this did just remind me, so we're still seeking vendors, so if you know anybody that wants to have a booth or a place at the Oakland's Fall Festival, they can contact me with my email.
Okay, Rosita,
No,
Nope.
Karen,
Nope.
Warren,
Two things. We had the Ellicott City bike corral. We had like 30 bikes. It was really a beautiful day. It was just a lot of fun. It was great. And lots of people were interested in bike cocoa. That's cool. The other thing is I volunteered for the free bikes for kids giveaway where they gave away like 200 bikes, and it was like a madhouse.
I was gonna say, yeah.
It was really cool though. So many kids were so
Cool.
excited, and yeah, I mean, here's a free bike and they got a helmet, and it was great. It's a great service. It
Are
really
they
is.
doing another drive this fall?
Yes.
Cause we had our church group, actually, the youth went and helped one of the nights to just fix up some of the bikes and stuff, and they loved it, so they were talking about wanting to do it again.
It's a
this
really
year.
cool program.
Yeah, really, they loved it.
It's great. No, it really is good. It was a lot of fun to do it too, just to be, and I hadn't done much except, hey, here's a bike for you, and you get all this.
You get all
this
the
love, it's just- That's it.
You were like
Oh,
Summer Santa.
I'll be gone till October. So, great vacation. So. I'm so excited. I'm ready to pop. Taking the Amtrak out to the West Coast.
nice.
I think that's awesome.
You can still call in,
Right? There's Zoom. It's a Zoom you can do.
yeah.
Where are you going?
Going to Chicago, West Glacier, the Glacier National Park. Then we're going to
Glacier.
Seattle. We'll go to the national parks out there. Then we'll go to Portland. That road
Yeah,
is
I'm
out
from
there.
Portland. That's
What's that?
I'm from Portland.
Are you really? My family's from Portland.
Oh,
My
really?
mom's
Yeah.
family. Yeah.
I'm from the west side over in the Beaverton and Hillsborough.
Beaverton. My mom grew up in Tualatin.
Oh, yeah, I have
And now
lots of family over there, so,
now they live in Aurora.
oh, yeah.
Now you know where that is,
Mm-hmm.
because I've never been there. so.
I missed
Sorry.
it.
You can do Aurora, Colorado.
Right?
Yeah, this is Aurora. I'm gonna go across the Canby Ferry. I'm
Oh,
gonna try to do that. I did that. This is like when I was 12, my grandfather took me across
Mm.
that. I just thought that was the coolest thing in the world. So,
Mm.
and I understand it still runs, so. I don't know.
Sounds fun.
Yeah,
But I think
I'm jealous of the Glacier Park. I love that park.
Yeah.
I'm jealous of everything. I wanna go so bad.
Shar, anything?
Well, I can tell you about an upcoming 5K at Howard Community College on October the 8th. Guys wanna sign up, you can sign up. It's walk, run, There'll be lots of different challenges and obstacles and things like that. I mean, you have to sign up as a group or as an organization. But you can sign up as a friend of me because I work there. If you just want to do it just kind of individually, but for externals,
When is it?
it's on Sunday, October 8th. And it's going to be held at the college. It's a pretty cool event. We have lots of vendors that come. They do lots of obstacle courses and, you know, kind of team you up with others that are, you know, if you're walking, they'll team you up with other walkers. If you're running and competing, they'll team you up with others that are running and competing. So I'm always there. I stand on the sideline and I go like this and cheer you on.
Is there a link for
Sometimes I dress up in
registration?
costume. I'm
Is there a
sorry.
link for registration and stuff?
Huh?
Is there a link for
If
registration?
you go on the HCC website, I think it's HCC Challenge Race. .org, I can't,
I bet,
HCC Challenge Race / I can't remember it.
I bet if you send that to Amy, it might get on the.
I saw Amy out running. I know, I was thought you were talking about your Amy.
Not the other.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just-
I saw Amy Whitman out running. That's what I saw. I was like, are you gonna sign her up?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a pretty cool event, so
Cool.
looking forward to that. And then we have a new building going up, so. That's
How's the athletic facility coming along?
the Mathletics building?
Is that what they're calling it?
Well, it's the, we actually have someone, one of our donors named it, so it's the Collard Foundation Complex.
Okay.
My daughter goes to HCC and she has math class at the Hickory Ridge building.
Mhm.
So I got to watch as they were like
Kind of
taking everything
figuring out-
down. And when she was in high school, she played soccer, so she would go to the soccer field
Yep.
for summer camp during, and we've been to that old building, the athletic building, so
Yeah.
I watched it all come down. It was really fascinating. I took pictures and stuff.
You gotta see the new building. I was doing the hard hat tours and we put a pause on it just because once they finished kind of phase 1 and moved into phase 2, wasn't really anything to show people or donors or anything, so we have a pause on that. But as soon as it reopens, I'll let you know and you can take a tour of it. I
Yeah.
mean, it is so freaking.
And they put a light in there too. I'm so happy because it was so hard to get out on
Yeah.
the road there.
Agreed.
The new basketball court area is, I mean, the arena is spectacular. I mean, it is, they went all
Oh,
out.
wow.
Yeah, it's nice. It's really nice. So yeah, we're looking at getting now a workforce development trade center
Very cool.
on campus. So probably officially kick things off September 1st. Some things are still kind of in the talks, but I think September 1st is when they're gonna kind of blast everything out. So that's exciting too. Yeah.
Is there still a pool in the athletic facility?
No, we have to do away with the pool because of the costs.
Oh, ouch.
Yeah, a lot of people were upset.
I
with
was
that.
on the HCC swim team for a couple of years. so.
Yeah, a lot of people were upset
Yeah.
with that, so, and we tried to work it in, I mean, you know, they even thought about putting like a rooftop pool, they tried to work it in, but just the cost of it was
Pools are expensive.
busting the budget, yeah.
I meant to ask you, were you at the Bay Sox game Saturday?
I was not,
Okay, I was there.
but I know I heard all of our president's team members were there.
Oh, yeah, president,
Dr. Willis,
president, play Paul, or they had the president do something. But it was HCC and then D17 Athletics, which was an alumnus of Oakland Mills High School.
Who was it?
His last name is Diggs, and
Oh.
his number on the lacrosse team was 17, so he's from this
Okay.
D17 Athletic Company. So I actually have one of his hats. He was giving out hats and stuff. And the funniest thing about that was so they made it like Columbia and Ellicott City Community Night at the Bay Sox. So they had this nice graphic prepared and they put it up on the scoreboard to welcome everyone from Columbia and Ellicott City. Except the graphic on the scoreboard said Columbia and Elliott City. And I thought, well, maybe they'll have time to fix it before they put it up again. A few innings later, they put it up again, Columbia and Elliott City. Oh, well,
That's hilarious.
they said it right, they just spelled it wrong. That's all, I don't have anything. I just, when you were mentioning HCC, I thought I meant to ask Char if she was at that game Saturday night. All right, so that concludes any business we were going to conduct in the open meeting, other than I have to announce the outcome of the closed session we're about to go into, but we do need a motion to go into closed session Pursuant to the Maryland Homeowners Association Act, to consult with staff personnel, consultants, attorneys, or other persons in connection with pending or potential litigation. Is there a motion to go closed? There's a motion from Bill, a second from Warren. All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 0, 0. So it is 8:33 p.m. Session concludes at 8:35 p.m. So that was a 2-minute closed session.
Well done.
Awesome. The outcome of our closed session was that the board, as the architecture committee, voted to remove the annual charge account flag and restore access to a property that was previously in violation of the Oakland Mills covenants and has since been brought back into compliance. And with that, we are out of open business. So at 8:35, we will also adjourn. Thank you.
Thank you, John.